Hi everyone, welcome to our Mission 44 webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. So this webinar is all about trying to change career. If you're trying to change career and become a teacher, especially in the West Midlands, we're going to just talk you through our Mission 44 pilot project. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a little bit about Now Teach and how we can best support you and why basically the type of offer that our program offer that we give to career changers such as yourselves. So Now Teach is a charity and we've got a unique solution to the teacher shortage. We are trying to attract experienced professionals to retrain as teachers and retrain them for the long term, and we're trying to retain teachers. So looking at the government's 6,500 um, sorry, I've lost my train of thought. 6,500 sort of number that they're looking at. Our solution is instead of trying to recruit graduates fresh out of university, we're going to try and recruit people who already have a wealth of experience and retrain them as teachers and try and retain them in the education industry for the long term. So, in 8 years since we have been established, we have recruited over, I would say, 1,400 secondary school teachers, which is amazing. And I'm going to move on to the next slide. There we go. So, talking about the Now Teach offer, there are lots of different things that make us Now Teach unique in the offer and the support that we provide to our candidates. So, first and foremost, we've got our peer network, where you have a sense of connection and a belonging with like-minded career changers such as yourselves. What you'll be able to get is you'll be bringing life experience and you'll be changing that into impact. So your career skills that you've already got from a different industry will turn into classroom strength. So your skills from a different industry, they will never go to waste. If you become a teacher, you will just use them and you will just use them to become a teacher and bring those skills into the classroom. You'll be able to get expert support on your career changer journey. So we will be able to support you every single step of the way from your initial expression of interest to become a teacher, all the way through applications, writing personal statements, interviews, even when you get a training position and beyond. You would be able to also have a reflective space with us where you have a confidential space to help make that career change. And it will help shape your identity as a career change teacher. You'll be able to have access to our amazing network full of hundreds and hundreds of like-minded career changers such as yourselves. And we'd also give some guided resources and tools to help you reflect, ask, and discuss. Wonderful. And now we're going to talk a little bit about our Mission 44 project, what it is, and how to get involved. So, through this project, we're trying to transform the face of teaching. We have launched a groundbreaking pilot to diversify the teaching workforce, starting with the West Midlands and hoping to roll it out throughout the rest of the UK. So, what is this program? This is a first of its kind pilot project, which is funded by another charity, Mission 44, which is Lewis Hamilton's charity. And this pilot program is in partnership with ourselves, Now Teach, NIoT, the National Institute of Teaching, and ME UK, which is Mindful Equity UK. So all of us together, we're working together to try and increase racial diversity in teaching. Our aim is to recruit at least 15 to 20 career changers from ethnic minority backgrounds, particularly Black or South Asian within the West Midlands, although we do welcome all ethnicities. So, why does this project matter? It matters because the research shows that Black and South Asians are highly underrepresented in the teaching workforce. The research also shows that a lot of ethnic minorities are oversubscribed or overrepresented when it comes to actually applying for initial teacher training. However, very few people in sort of comparison actually make it into teacher training. So we're trying to change that and level the playing field. Most students, sadly, will never be taught by a teacher who represents their background and their experiences. So, again, we're trying to solve this problem and we are trying to change this because every single student deserves to see themselves reflected back in their teachers so that they have something to aspire to and they have somebody who believes in them and who can understand where they've come from and understand their life experiences. So, what do we offer as part of this Mission 44 pilot? We offer a structured, supported pathway for career changes of color. So, we are recruiting Black and South Asian professionals into teaching. We offer, at Now Teach, we offer lifetime wraparound support from your first EOI, expression of interest, and as I mentioned previously, through applications, interviews, and beyond. You'll have access to a nationwide network of supportive career changers. So, any questions you may have about your subject or your training provider or what it's like to be a career changer, you will have access to a supportive network of career changers who'll be able to give their experiences and their advice as well. You'll get the chance to train with the highly reputable National Institute of Teaching, NIoT, through this pilot, and you will get comprehensive support from a NIoT mentor. You'll be able to have the chance to be part of an exciting, one-of-a-kind pilot project to increase racial diversity in the UK, which is the first of its kind. So, a very, very noble cause. And you'll have the chance to enrich the lives of ethnic minority children who have never seen themselves represented in their teachers. So, let's talk about how do you become a teacher with Now Teach? What are your training options? So, when you're looking to become a teacher, there are two main training options that you're going to come across. One of them is university based. So, this is a more traditional initial teacher training program, for example, based in a university, which will give you a school placement. Sometimes a school placement will be around 2 to 3 over the year. So, with a university based training program, you would spend some of your time at university learning about education pedagogy, and you'd be using some of your time in school, getting to kind of know the school environment, being with colleagues and students, and eventually you'll be teaching your own subjects and your own lessons as well. Now, a school-based or a skit training option, you have around 80% of your time you spend that in school, and 20% of your time you'll be spending at university. So it depends on what you're looking for. Some people do prefer to go through the university-based school placement with a school placement where you learn more and it's a bit more academic, and some people prefer school-based routes. What qualifications will you get? So, with all teacher training programs, you will get a QTS, or I'd say most of them, which is a qualified teacher status. That is the most important certification and qualification that you need to be able to teach in the UK. Without this, you will not be able to teach, even if you've got other education qualifications. The other qualification you may get is a PGCE, which is a postgraduate certificate in education. And this is not compulsory to qualify as a teacher. So if you go for a training program which only gives you a QTS, that is good enough to be able to teach in the UK. However, you do have to be careful because there are some teacher training programs that only offer a PGCE and not a QTS, which means that you would have to do an additional QTS qualification to actually be able to teach in the UK. So, are you eligible? If we look at the government criteria for teaching, you will need your GCSE in maths and English at least a grade C, which is now a 4, above or equivalent, and you need an undergraduate degree as well. For the subject criteria, you will need an honours degree. So, for example, if you're looking to teach a particular subject like maths, more often than not, you would need an honours degree in maths or an A level, or a lot of experience in that subject. So, what subjects can you teach? We'll help you find the right subject based on your experience, interests, and qualifications. So, during our initial consultation, we ask you a few questions to try and get to know you a little bit better so that we can best advise you on which subjects that you would be eligible to teach. And of course, we look at the subjects that you're interested to teach to make sure that we can align them as much as possible. So the subjects that we support at the moment are business studies, biology, music, drama, RE, art, history, economics, DT, geography, English, maths, physics, chemistry, MFL, computer science. What financial support is available? Now, I know a lot of you already know this, but a handful of subjects are eligible for bursaries by the government. So, a bursary is a tax-free payment that you get over the course of your teaching year, and it will be paid into your account, into your bank account every month, almost like a salary, but it's not a salary. It's just it's a bursary. So, if you look at the screen now, you can see these are the subjects that are currently eligible for bursaries, and the bursaries are of varying amounts. We've got biology, chemistry, computing, DT, geography, modern foreign languages, French, German, and Spanish only. Languages, all other languages, including ancient languages, maths, and physics. You can see there that some of the subjects are eligible for a bursary of 5,000, some for 20, some for 29. Some of those subjects are also eligible for a scholarship. So the way that it works is if you're going for a subject that has a bursary, if you get an offer after you go through interview for those subjects, then the bursary would be, and if you're eligible for the bursary, then that would be paid to you automatically. There's nothing you've got to do in addition to your application and interview. However, for scholarships, if you're interested in scholarships, scholarships are first and foremost, there aren't that many. So if you are interested in a scholarship, we would definitely recommend you to apply as soon as possible. And that is usually a separate application for the training provider and subject that you are applying for. So that all depends. Obviously, if you are going for a subject that doesn't have a bursary and you'd still like some financial support, there is still some financial support available, which will be on the Get Into Teaching website or also on the Department for Education website as well. Okay, so now we're going to answer some questions that have been sent in before the webinar. The first question, and this is one we get quite often, is can I become a primary teacher with Now Teach? So unfortunately, at the moment, Now Teach only supports those wanting to change career and become secondary school teachers. That doesn't mean that just because maybe you're not eligible for our support because you want to become a primary teacher, it doesn't mean you can't become a teacher. It just means that you can maybe contact a different organization that can support you in becoming a primary teacher, such as Get Into Teaching. The next question is Now Teach a training provider? And this is something we see quite often as well, how some candidates get a little bit confused and they think that they can do their teacher training with us. So Now Teach is not a teacher training provider. We are an education charity and we are here to help career changers navigate the transition into teaching by providing support and guidance through the process of application and during your training year. So unfortunately, we're not a training provider. provider, so we don't have a teacher training program, but we do support you throughout the whole entire process. And you can think of it like we are the middleman or the middle person. We're the bridge between yourselves, career changers, and teacher training providers. The next question is, what is an ENIC statement and how do I know if I need one? So, if you have overseas qualifications in your GCSEs, your A levels, your degree, etc., you may need an ENIC statement, which is a statement of comparability. And this simply checks your overseas qualifications and makes sure that they are equivalent to UK qualifications. And this only applies to those who have overseas qualifications. If you have UK qualifications, you don't require an ENIC statement. And if you start your process with us, this is something that we advise you on and we give you, and we do point you in the right direction and we give you the appropriate contact details and website for the organization, the ENIC organization who can support you with this. So the next question is, what if I don't have GCSEs? So if you don't have GCSEs, you will need to do a maths and English equivalency test because the government criteria is ideally to have GCSEs. So if you don't have them, it doesn't mean automatically you're not eligible to teach. You can do equivalency tests, and these are widely accepted by training providers. You can find out more information online, and if you start your journey with us, again, this is something that we can advise you on. The next question is, can I get a salaried position? So salaried positions often go to people who can provide evidence that they have significant classroom experience already. So what that means is sometimes perhaps you're working as an unqualified teacher for a number of years at a school. Maybe it means that you have overseas teacher qualifications, and that you've been doing some work in the UK in schools as well. However, this isn't always the case. In our experience, there are very few salaried positions available, especially for non-shortage subjects. The decision is down to the individual training provider, so we always advise making direct contact with individual providers to understand their criteria. There are also apprenticeship routes, which are salaried and available with some providers, but again, you'll need to contact the providers directly. So the next question is, can I complete the course part-time? So this varies depending on the provider. Most training providers offer mostly full-time training options. However, a growing number of training providers also offer part-time options. For example, your part-time program might be over 2 years rather than 1 year, and you might do your teacher training over 3 days a week over the 2 years. You'll need to check each individual provider's website for more information. Okay, so in summary, Now Teach will support you to make a smooth and successful transition into teaching, help you anticipate and navigate common challenges with confidence, connect you with a vibrant and supportive network of fellow career changers, equip you to make a meaningful and lasting impact on pupils, schools, and the wider society. And if you're new to Now Teach, please register on our website. The link should be in the chat. And if not, then please do check our website. There's links on there, and you'll also be able to, once you register, you'll have access to my email address as well. And I'd be able to happily support you on your journey. Thank you very much for attending this webinar and for watching, and good evening.